Let me share with you my final thoughts from the interview with Pablo Fuentes. For those who are listening only to the final thoughts clip, Pablo is a purple belt in Jiu-Jitsu and he's the founder and CEO of Proven, a leading small business hiring platform and content hub. He also hosts Small Business War Stories, a weekly podcast where he interviews small business owners and operators. The link is available on this episode's post at www.TBJJMentalCoachPodcast.com. I hope you're able to grab at least one good takeaway. Pablo addressed some important points like acknowledging the fear when the fear shows up and self-responsibility in everything you do. My main takeaway was when he talked about how lonely the world of entrepreneurship can be and how mental health issues have been on the rise everywhere. I don't know where you're currently at in your entrepreneurial journey, but personally, in my 20 years of living in the United States, for my last 10 years, I've been investing my time and money in my mental health. I'm talking personal development books, audiobooks, podcasts, YouTube videos, seminars, certifications, therapies, couples counseling, even when things are good, spiritual retreats, anything that can help me to raise my emotional maturity levels and help me to overcome and cope with my personal mental health issues so I can live a life authentic to my desires and inspire you, the listeners, to invest in your mental health as well. For these final thoughts, I invested 4 to 5 hours watching videos about mental health and entrepreneurship. And I thank Pablo for bringing up the topic because I learned a lot from the research, and I'm going to share with you a little bit of what I heard. Here are some stats to give you a perspective. Dr. Michael Freeman, who is an executive coach to entrepreneurs and clinical professor of psychiatry at the University of California, San Francisco School of Medicine, stated that in a research, 49% of entrepreneurs surveyed were dealing with at least one mental illness, such as attention deficit disorder, ADD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, bipolar disorder, addiction, depression, or anxiety. And about 1/3 of entrepreneurs struggle with 2 or more mental illnesses. By comparison, only about 32% of all adults in the United States report being diagnosed with 1 or more mental illnesses. When Pablo mentioned how lonely entrepreneurship can be, he shared how it can possibly lead to depression and consequently, in extreme cases, suicide. Matter of fact, suicide rate is up 25% in the last decade. A very recent, well-known sad case was with Anthony Bourdain, who committed suicide at 61. Bourdain, who was a blue belt in Jiu-Jitsu, was the host of the award-winning series Parts Unknown on CNN, where he shared cultures and cuisines from all over the world. From an outside perspective, his life looked great. However, everyone is fighting an internal battle that no one knows about it, including you. And what Pablo said was crucial. If you're struggling with your mental health, seek for help. Create a positive support system if you don't have one yet. Depression is no joke. There's an article available on Forbes.com by Amy Morin called "There is a Hidden Dark Side to Being an Entrepreneur." In the article, she said, quote, "The life of an entrepreneur sounds glamorous when you're on the outside looking in. Setting your own schedule, creating your own rules, and building the type of company you want to work for can be incredibly alluring." Unquote. Freedom, right? However, you must pay a price. She said, quote, "The hidden secret among many entrepreneurs is the psychological price they pay for their choices." Unquote. In the article, she shares a few of the ways being an entrepreneur can take a toll on your psychological well-being. And the first one is depression. I'm going to read you 3 paragraphs from Amy's article. Quote, "The isolation many entrepreneurs experience contributes to an increased risk of depression. Additionally, many entrepreneurs work such long hours that they are not able to take care of themselves. The time's money mentality means they usually devote less time to sleep, leisure, exercise, and other activities that can ward off depression. Depression comes in many forms, and it doesn't always present as sadness. Sleep difficulties, irritability, and change in weight are just a few symptoms that can be associated with depression. Entrepreneurs may mask depressive symptoms by working longer hours, or they may mistake their depressive symptoms with stress, which can cause symptoms to get worse. In extreme cases, entrepreneurs may also experience an increased risk of suicide. In fact, Shark Tank's Robert Herjavec recently revealed that he contemplated suicide last summer after the breakup of his marriage. His courageous revelation proves that extreme fame, fortune, and success doesn't buffer anyone from mental health issues, unquote. She also talks about self-worth issues, anxiety, and addiction. Now, let me ask you this. Do you ever catch yourself feeling anxious and you don't even know why? If you do, and you don't know why you're anxious, I have one suggestion. Be curious. Be curious to figure out, where is this coming from? Personally, I started to get involved with mental skills training and personal development because I was curious to understand the source of my anxiety. And it sparked my interest in starting my personal development journey. Is my anxiety, and especially my social anxiety, gone? Absolutely not. However, I have a lot more tools to cope with my mental health issues, and you or someone you know can learn more tools as well if you invest your time and eventually money. There's so much free content available online. Amazing information that you can learn to improve your mental health so you can live a life even more authentic to your desires. Do not underestimate your mental health. Developing a self-care plan is essential to combating your mental health issues. Making time for physical activity, spending time with people who love you and care about you, and one of the most important quotes that I've heard from the late Jim Rohn. Quote, learn to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. If you work hard on your job, you'll make a living. If you work hard on yourself, you can make a fortune, unquote. Yes, entrepreneurship can get lonely in moments, and it can bring a lot of anxiety during your journey. However, you must consistently, and that is the key word, consistently work on yourself, because when the tough times come, and they will come, you will have more tools and knowledge to handle possible personal mental health issues. Another quote that is very important to take in consideration is, quote, before diagnose yourself with depression or low self-esteem, first make sure that you're not, in fact, just surrounded by assholes, unquote. Who is your support system? Who do you hang out with? Jim Rohn, the motivational speaker, teaches the power of the association and how we're the average of the 5 people we hang out the most. He asks 3 questions for reflection. The first one is, who are you around? Who do you hang out with? Now, the second question is, what person are you becoming because of the influence of this association? Where do you go? What do you eat? What do you speak? What do you listen to? What habits did you pick up because of the influence of this association? And now the third and final question is that okay? According to your values and morals, everything is good. The associations that you have no issue. If so, awesome. Now, if you say, Gustavo, not really, then something needs to change. To live a life authentic to your desires, you will have to make uncomfortable calls and crucial conversations that will not satisfy everyone. However, you must stick with your values so you can surround yourself with a positive support system. And to close, here's the thing. Regardless if you're an entrepreneur or not, and you're struggling with mental health issues, seek for help. This is more common than you imagine, and you're definitely not alone.
We're glad you were able to join us for this episode of the BJJ Mental Coach Podcast, but the lesson doesn't end here. Watch the videos and download the audio of the 10 mental mistakes BJJ competitors make and how to avoid them for free when you subscribe to the BJJMentalCoach.com. Don't miss the chance to find out what might be holding you back from being your best self on and off the mat. That's the BJJMentalCoach.com.